Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
Sick, yeah, I can hear you. I have
Awesome.
the most insane, Ouroboros of digital shit happening
Oh,
over here, so I'm always like, did it work? Who's to say?
no, yeah, I get it.
Hello and welcome back to the Fic List Presents Author's Notes, an interview series where I chat with creative type people about their experiences in and relationships to fandom and fan culture. My name is Erin, and you might know me as one co-host of the Fic List podcast, or as that girl you've seen on TikTok sometimes when your FYP sends you weird jokes about fan fiction. I am a 20-year veteran of the fandom trenches and a former professional arts administrator with an interest in bridging the gaps between creators and fandom. In today's episode, I am beyond excited, thrilled, deeply, wow, to welcome social media department lead at Try Guys, Second Try LLC, social strategist, content creator, professional fangirl, and pop culture aficionado, Cailyn. Cailyn, how do you pronounce your last name?
I was like waiting. I was like, oh, is she gonna get it?
Nope.
It's Hoertz. It's like the
Hoertz.
rental company, so the O is kind of silent. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah. I was like,
No affiliation though to the rental company.
do you know what's really funny is I do.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, my brother worked for them for like 5 years.
Oh, that's so funny.
So great. I was like, do I ask before or do I just like open the opportunity for me to be kind of a dummy?
It's fine. It's a constant, like every graduation I've had, it's like the pause before the last name. It's fine. I'm used to it.
Great. I figured as much and I was like, I'm not even going to attempt it.
Yeah. My actual last name is actually longer too. My full last name is Hoertz, so it's like
Oh.
it's
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, totally. That's wonderful. Well, welcome to the podcast. Thank you
Thank
so
you. Thank
much.
you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Obviously, I've given a little bit of an intro here, but I would love if you could tell the audience who you are and what you do in your own words.
Yeah, for sure. So, like she said, my name's Cailyn. I am the social media department lead at the Try Guys. I've been there for about a little over 2 years now, almost 2 years. It's hard to remember. It's been about 2 years.
Time flies.
Yeah, exactly. I started there as a coordinator and then worked my way up to lead, and I run a small little team of me and one other person. We're actually hiring right now, so depending on when this comes out, if you guys want to apply, that's awesome. Um, but before the Try Guys, I also worked at BuzzFeed as a social media strategist for about 2 years there as well. But BuzzFeed was my first job out of college, so I'm 26. Those were my first two and only jobs that I've had, and they've both been pretty awesome.
That is incredible. For context, I'm 32, so I feel like I was the heyday of like the BuzzFeed forming my millennial experience era. And
Definitely.
a lot of the time I'm really surprised to remember that like a lot of the people at BuzzFeed in that era were not that much older than I am. Because it definitely feels like they were 10 years ahead of me, and they just weren't. Like, we were somewhat contemporaneous, which is because I was like in college when they were just out, so it's like not that far removed.
Yeah, definitely. I also like grew up. I obviously wasn't like the exact target age for like the peak BuzzFeed, but I was also online with unrestricted access way too young, as most people are. So I was definitely watching BuzzFeed very regularly. Funnily enough, though, not really the Try Guys, but more like Ladylike and like the BuzzFeed Purple and like all those little like random ones. And so BuzzFeed was always like a dream job for me. So when I got it, it was definitely it felt like I was like fulfilling this childhood dream. But I also was definitely working there past the prime of BuzzFeed. So I didn't get the exact same experience, but I definitely got a taste of it. And it's an interesting world at BuzzFeed.
Yeah, I feel like even as someone who has zero connection to it other than consuming the content, I could like get a read that was
Yeah,
like
definitely.
a very unique and very specific to its era experience for people who worked there. I was like, I don't think that this is like lightning in a bottle. Like, I don't think this is going to happen again in digital creation because it can't. Like, it was just such of its moment.
Oh yeah, definitely. And definitely, yeah, by the time I was there, BuzzFeed had kind of learned their lesson, or I mean, they say they learned their lesson of quote unquote making people famous because then they lose their employees. Yeah, I definitely was past that, but I definitely got to do a lot of really fun stuff there. It's obviously a lot of good opportunities. I got to do like red carpets and work with like the celeb team a lot, which was super fun. So obviously, as somebody who is part of the fandom world. That was a goal of mine. So it was super fun for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And also the formative fandom experience of I had unrestricted access to the internet at way too young of an age. I was like, I feel that.
Yeah, definitely. My mom did not care, but maybe she should have.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. I'm like, my parents just like didn't know is the thing, and I was very good at hiding it.
Yep.
Yikes.
They had no idea what I was up to.
Yeah. Oops. Well, R.I.P. Quizilla was my introduction to things.
I'm like glad though, because I would totally be a completely different person if I didn't have that unfettered access to the internet. Definitely.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, I mean, obviously, like, here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't like be here or doing the job I'm doing. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So that does lead me into one of my favorite questions to ask, because I think there's a baseline assumption amongst fandom girlies that like people know, like if I say fandom, it brings up very specific things. And I have a feeling that you and I are probably talking about the same thing, but there's no guarantee. Like that's an assumption, not a truth. So how would you personally define or describe fandom? Like what does that word mean to you?
For sure. Yeah. I think fandom, I mean, it can, mean different things to different people for sure. But to me, it's like a community. Like, I think that's like the number one word that I think of. A community that's based around something that all of those people in that community really love and really support. There's obviously, I think, different levels of fandom. Like, I bring it back to One Direction because that was my first like main fandom, but there was like different levels of like One Direction fans, right? There were the One Direction fans that went to like a million concerts, knew every single detail about every single band member. And like, that's where it kind of gets into like the, where people would be like, okay, they're a little crazy, like that little bit of like, okay, whoa. And I definitely guilty. But then there's like the level of like, you can still be in a fandom if you just enjoy the music. Like, I don't think that there's like a bar point that you need to get to like be in a fandom, but it's all it matters is just a community really of people that band around the same thing and usually have similar ideals as well because of that.
Totally. I totally agree. And yeah, I think you and I have probably some serious alignment, especially in terms of music. But I think for me, the defining thing about like, there are people who are fans and then there are people who are in fandom. Yeah. And there is a line there that I think fandom girlies can like pick at. And like, it's a different thing when you're talking to somebody else who like kind of knows what you're talking about when you're saying like, I'm in fandom. Yeah. Like I've been in the Tumblr trenches. Like I understand what that means.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that there definitely is a difference. Like like I have a lot of my friends like listened to One Direction like when they were younger, but don't like know the lore or like what I've been through as like somebody who was part of the fandom. And so it's a different experience, I guess. But totally. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Just so you are not the only person out on the vulnerable tree branch of like admitting things. My fandom introduction was Green Day in 2004, 2005, like right around the American Idiot era. And I stumbled across Quizilla fan fiction of Green Day in my quest to find cute photos of Billie Joe Armstrong. Yeah. Because what else are you going to do when you're 11 and really angry about the world or whatever, because you're, just slamming into puberty, like whatever. So yeah, like the music fandom thing is so real and it is so formative in a like profound way. I think like music fandom girlies I think of us often similar to like sports fandom girlies, where it's like very formative and very specific.
Definitely. And also I just saw Green Day at Coachella and they were great. So they were great. I loved them.
I would love to have been there. I would live vicariously through you.
Yeah, it was great. It was, I wasn't even like, I mean, I like Green Day, but I wasn't like in the fandom of Green Day, but I was like, obviously I'm going to go see Green Day. And it was definitely even better than I expected. I was like, they really killed it. So they're great performers.
Oh, they're incredible.
I don't even remember what I was going to say. Oh, just like, yeah, the formative years is definitely, it's just exactly who I am. And like how you were saying, like when I'm talking to somebody, I can definitely pretty quickly tell how deep into it they were. Like even, I don't know, it's just like this look that like I don't know how to explain it. Especially I've also been in like I'm in like the K-pop fandom, and that one's a big one because it's like, oh, what music do you listen to? It's like, oh, I listen to this and a little bit of K-pop, and then like you can just tell if they're gonna be into that or not very immediately. And K-pop is definitely one that's different though, because I personally don't think I've ever met a casual K-pop listener. Like
so true.
I'm sure they're out there, but I don't think I've ever met somebody that's just listens to K-pop and is not part of the fandom, which is interesting in and of itself. I mean, K-pop's the whole other, that's a whole other essay I could write. But
totally. In this essay, I will. That is, yeah, I am not of the K-pop girly persuasion, and it is not because I don't like it. I have heard songs and I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. But like, I do feel like there's almost, it's not a barrier of entry. It's not like prohibitive, but there is sort of a thing where it's like, once you're in, Godspeed.
It's a spiral. And there's just, I think it's because also it's a full different culture. There's so many things you need to learn to fully understand the industry. So it is, I agree. It's like not a barrier of entry, but there is like, you kind of have to like learn things before you can even like really be in the fandom. It's like you have to take a test first.
Yeah. And there's so many different groups, and they are all sort of like, there's a whole culture of like bringing trainees up through things, which is like not something that has a comparable equivalent in the US. Like it's wild.
So different. Yeah, it is very crazy.
It's like a reality show meets music industry. In a way.
It's exactly that.
Yeah, wild. So one of my questions was going to be, do you currently engage with fandoms, or what are the fandoms that you engaged with growing up? But I feel like we touched on both of those. Are there any other fandoms that you would like name drop as something that has been either really formative for you or something that you're really interested in now?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think when I think about, I'll start with my formative ones. I mentioned One Direction, but actually my very first like for real fandom I was part of, and my very first fan account was a Josh Hutcherson fan account and the Hunger Games.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it started Josh Hutcherson, turned into just a Hunger Games like Instagram, then kind of turned into a Bookstagram before Bookstagram was cool. So I've definitely, and that one kind of stayed with me. So I've been in kind of like the book space fandom for like a long time. I definitely had a little bit of a drop off in college when I was too cool to read, but then it came back.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah. And then another formative one kind of in my high school years was YouTube people. Specifically, I was very into like O2L, if you know who they are. I've recently found out that not everyone knows who O2L is, and that's like been blowing my mind.
Totally.
I was talking about them at work the other day, and like nobody knew who they were, and I was like, we're literally a YouTube company and y'all don't know who O2L is. Like, to me, they're everything.
Learn your history. Come on.
No, exactly. Quick rundown. O2L was like the OG like collab channel on YouTube.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So like there were multiple boys, and each boy had their own day that they posted on. And so it was like they had a theme song that was like written and sung by Charlie Puth.
Whoa. Okay.
Or kind of a big deal. I don't know if you know Trevi Moran. She's usually the one that people know now. But she was in it back then, before she transitioned. But anyways, so O2L, Tyler Oakley, I was a fan of Troye Sivan when he was a YouTuber.
Oh.
So I was pretty deep into like that era of YouTube. And then now, still watch YouTube. I wouldn't say I'm as much in like the fandoms in YouTube. I still watch it though a lot, but now it's turned into Harry Styles for sure is like my number one, I would say. K-pop, books. I'm a bit of a Disney adult, but it's weird because I have to admit that I am a Disney adult, but I like to be like, I'm not, too scary of a Disney adult. Yeah. But also I never thought about it until now, but I guess I never really thought of Disney as like a fandom I was part of either, but I guess I am. So yeah, I guess those are kind of the main ones. I feel like I'm for sure forgetting some. I have a problem where I can't like things a normal amount. I usually am like all in or all out. So there's probably more.
That is a fandom trait, I think. Yeah. If it helps, I am also a tiny bit of a Disney adult. I go to the parks every year with my brother, and like it's a thing. I'm like not the way I'm always like, I'm not going to cry at the castle. It's going to be fine.
Right.
I will be annoyed at how long the churro line is, and I will curse Disney as a capitalist overlord.
Yes.
However, Guardians of the Galaxy slaps every time.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. And also I grew up in Florida, so I was like very close to the parks at all times. And now I lived in LA. There's a park an hour away. So it's just always been surrounding me. So it was easy to become who I am.
Yeah. This is a safe space.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Totally. So there's a lot of what you just said that I would love to sort of unpack, but in the in the interest of keeping to our outline, screw it. I'm always interested to talk to people about sort of the micro generations of digital creation, because I feel like we're not that far apart in age, right? But you and I experienced different eras of YouTube, it sounds like, because I was very heavily into like Vlogbrothers, that era of BuzzFeed that we talked about earlier, that was like really big. So the Try Guys era. I was also pretty heavily into Ladylike. I mean, Sophia Nygaard was like huge to me. Still is. Right. I love her content. But it like, I would say that was sort of like at its peak in that era. But I dropped off as it started heading into, I think, what you're talking about. And I had shifted into other things. I think maybe because that's when I was headed into college and just had different time and different availability to like sit and watch stuff. And college is more when I got into like show fandoms and stuff like that, where I was like reading things or whatever. So I think it's really fascinating to talk to people about, even within the same overarching fandom, we might not know the same stuff or have the same points of reference. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. That is interesting. And something actually that we talk about a lot at the Try Guys office as well, because when we talk about OG YouTubers often, it's like I always have to remind myself that to me, OG YouTubers is like who I was saying, like Tyler Oakley, Miranda Sings, which, not good now. But back then that was, she was totally one of the ones, like Tana Mojo, like all of these people are like to me. But obviously I know that they are not OG YouTubers. So then I'm like, I have to be like reframe, like, no, Smosh, Vlogbrother, like all these like other people. Right. And I definitely also watched a lot of the people that you were mentioning too, like Vlogbrothers and everything. It is so interesting because I feel like the era that I started watching YouTube in, because the beginning of YouTube was very much like sketches, like, because people didn't know what YouTube was yet, right? Like people were posting to YouTube and the only frame of reference they had was TV. So they were making sketches and like comedy sketches and things like that. And then I feel like the era that I kind of started joining in on was when it started switching to like vlogs and like really like making the people the content versus like the comedy of it all. Like most videos I watched were just people living their days, like vlogs of their day or doing like the best friend challenge and like things like that. And it was kind of the era of like relatability is kind of where I landed on, which is a whole other thing I could get into because everybody, wants to watch me that's relatable. But then once somebody becomes quote unquote famous, they kind of lose the relatability. It's a whole evil cycle. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. I was also part of the era of like when a lot of things were starting, like VidCon and Playlist Live and things like that. I went to Playlist Live, which is a similar thing to VidCon, but in Orlando, Florida. There also used to be one in DC. I don't think Playlist Live exists anymore. Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, I went to it every single year of high school in Orlando and I loved it. It was basically just a convention where you get to meet all your favorite YouTubers. And like, I don't know if you know, like the British, they were called like the British boy band or something like that. It was like Alfie Days and like, it's like all these people that were so huge at the time. But if you missed that timeline, you're like, no idea. So it's crazy because they were so huge at the time, but things come and go very quickly.
Totally. And internet fame, for lack of a better word, or internet notoriety can be in many ways so niche.
Definitely.
And to the people who know, you feel like a superstar. And then you go to the grocery store and no one knows who you are. And I feel like that should be studied at some point because I feel like that experience of fame, I'm sure that you work with people who experience that. And it's just wild.
It's definitely weird. Like, even like when I just tell people about my job, like I get such different reactions. Like, I'm like, oh, I work for the Try Guys. Some people are like, oh my God, that's so awesome. Like, I love the Try Guys. And other people are like, who? Like,
what?
No idea who they are.
Yeah.
It's definitely like very interesting how that works. But I kind of love it because I think having a niche, like loyal following is way better than having a really wide following that doesn't actually care or follow like you or anything. Like I always say, like, even like, I know we'll probably talk about this later, but like when I'm thinking about like our socials and like social performance and stuff, we're always like looking way more at engagement than like views. And to me, it's kind of similar. It's like if you get a video that has like 5 million views, but like 3 comments, it's like, is it really that successful? Or if you get a video that has, I don't know, 100K views with like 700 comments, that's way better to me because it shows that you have people that want to engage with you. And those people, in a business sense, are more likely to then also like, sign up for Second Try, our streamer, or like join our Discord to like hang out with us more, or come to our live shows or things like that. Like building an actual like fan base that you can actually have a two-way conversation with versus you just putting things out and nobody like returning that is not as fun to me.
Yeah, totally. It's like a depth versus breadth scenario.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So sometimes being niche is way better.
Yeah. And as someone who doesn't monetize this podcast at all, like that is the philosophy that me and my co-host, who's currently trying to be an actor, so doesn't do this anymore. But that was what we were going for, right? I was like, we are not going to have broad appeal talking about like fan fiction. Like we're just not. And that's totally fine. But for the people who want this content, like we should like speak to them specifically and like use the language that appeals to them and like go for that. So yeah. This conversation sort of sparks my interest in talking to you about your relationship to like your relationship to fandom and how it may or may not have changed since becoming a professional fandom person, like a professional in the entertainment space. And when I reached out to you about this interview, and you've talked about this on other channels that I definitely watched in preparation for this interview, you've mentioned the quote, "fangirl to media employee pipeline," which I fully believe in, fully endorse, think like is the future. We are the future.
My favorite thing.
Yeah. What aspects of your fandom experience or fandom experience in general best prepared you to work in the entertainment sphere? And like, how does making someone knowledgeable about fandom make them a better digital media employee?
Yeah, definitely. This is my favorite topic.
So, we have 4 hours.
I just think, oh gosh, where do I start? Okay, so I'll start with where I think that like being in the fandom space helped me with like my job now. First of all, like I have, like I said, I've been running fan accounts since the Josh Hutcherson fan account when I was 11 years old. So not only was I in the fandom space, but I was like truly part of it, like making content, like even though sometimes I was making content like silly little edits and stuff. Sure. I think just like having that base on social media, like that is experience is personally just as a social media person, like having accounts, running accounts, that Bookstagram that I talked about, like back in the day, got to like 10K followers at one point, which was like back then, I was not to brag, but like that was kind of a big deal. Like I was like, this is huge at 11.
Yeah.
So like
that's sizable.
I was like, so I was like, this is like something that like actually is teaching me things. Like I was actually having to be consistent and like posting, and not only consistent in posting, but consistent in my knowledge of the space I was in to like make sure that what I was posting was relevant and stuff. So like all of those things I was doing, even though I didn't realize it, are the same things that I do now. Like I have to post regularly. I have to make content. I have to know what's going on in like the Try Guys universe, like to understand where the fans are and what they would want to see. So, I mean, just before I even realized it, I was a social media strategist, like I was like doing the things. But just kind of besides the actual like logistics of it all, I think the biggest thing that I bring to the table as like somebody who is like a fangirl into this like career is just like the understanding of the fan's brain and like what they want to see. And also, I don't know, just like what they think. Like we often are like talking about how do we like give to our fans. We don't want to just be, saying like, give us money, do this, do this. It's like, no, we want to be like, giving things that are wanted. So we're often having conversations about like what that is. And I think having the background as a fan and knowing like, what did I want from One Direction? What did I want from these other creators that I followed? What things that did these creators do that excited me the most? Like bringing those into my work has been really beneficial. And that's why when I tell other people that are looking to be in the space, I'm like, if you have experience in fandom, I think it just really helps you, even if you don't realize it. It's almost subconscious that you're just going to understand a fan base more. So if you're working for a company that has a fan base that you need to please, it's just naturally going to be easier for you to understand. If that makes sense. I feel like I'm blabbing, but
no, you're not. It doesn't.
Okay, good. I'm like, does this all make sense? Am I just?
It absolutely does. So okay. I've spoken about this in sort of a similar context. I have a number of friends who like write for video games or like write professionally or like do things on the creative side where I'm like, y'all should have a fandom person from the jump in the room, not to make decisions, but to tell you how a fandom is going to interpret what you're doing. Because fandom is predictable in a lot of ways. I can tell you pretty accurately how a fandom is going to react to something before it actually happens. And I can walk you through the cycle of how it's going to go because I've lived it for 20 years.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's almost like a dramaturg, but for fandom.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, yeah, and what you just said about like I can like predict it. It's and I know this was also I think one of your questions later, but then it is hard because you do have to kind of balance. So like I know, or I can predict like how this is going to go, but then I also have to look at it from like a company side and like, but what do we need to do like for us like for this to work? And sometimes those like battle each other, which is rough. But it still helps make the call. And even then, like if I know like something that we have to do, even if it like, I don't know, like something as small as like we have to move a video that was scheduled and people are going to be upset, it's like I at least know then that people are going to be upset and I can like plan for that and adjust or like make sure that we know what our messaging is, like things like that. So not only does fandom help you like make decisions, but it also just helps you navigate situations as they arise too, which is awesome.
That was one of my questions because I was like, I imagine having what experience I do in the theater world, right? Like you make choices and you know that they're going to read a certain way or be like taken a certain way, but there are times where the circumstances necessitate you making certain decisions. And I've had that conversation, and I used to work as just a manager being like, I have all this information in my head about why I'm asking you to do this. I can't really give it to you because it's not your place to know.
Yeah.
And so I was interested in talking to you, and I don't, it's not a gotcha question. I don't need specifics. Like I was just interested in that conflict because I was like, one of the things that I imagine happens is you're a little bit Cassandra. You're like, I can see where this is going to go.
Right. Yeah.
There isn't a whole lot that I can do to stop that train. The best I can do is like maybe anticipate it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly it. And I think like it's honestly like similar to, I feel like even people that are like outside of the fandom space can kind of like compare it to like you have, personal opinions, personal beliefs, and sometimes those don't like completely align with your work and you have to just like balance that. And I think it's like obviously on a smaller scale, like similar. Like it's like, well, I know that this is going to go this way, but because of whatever circumstance, we have to do this. Like, and obviously, like when it comes to a business, there's contracts, there's sponsorships, there's all these things that you have to like deal with that are annoying, but that's just like how it is. So yeah, it's definitely like a balance. I've learned to just deal with it, honestly. Like it just like you just gotta, and again, like having the experience just helps you then to fix it later. Like I feel like I can talk about this. It's obviously public. I wasn't there at Try Guys when like the scandal happened, but I think something that the Try Guys did really well for that, and I think a lot of people agreed, was that just the way they handled it. They couldn't do anything about the situation. They didn't know it happened how it happened. But what I think they did so well was afterwards, how they handled it was so great. They just were honest, and that's something that I think that we take through everything is like just we are honest. Like we try to be as transparent as we can. And that's like what I think is like special about working in specifically the like internet creator space is the ability to be so transparent and just honest with our fandom. Cause I know like kind of actual larger celebrities like don't do that. I don't know if it's that, I don't know if it's that they can't, but they don't. Yeah. And that's what's fun about, I think, being in the internet space is we have such close contact with our fans and we're able to just be transparent, be honest, be like, yeah, like we mess up sometimes and that's okay. And we're going to tell you why and how we're going to fix it. And that's that. So I think that's something that through like fandom I've learned, and what I really appreciate the Try Guys also, because I would say I'm the biggest fangirl at the Try Guys currently, but there definitely are others and like other people that are obviously in fandoms. And I think that's something that we've got a really good hold on is just like being honest and transparent and close with our fans without, falling into too much of the parasocial relationship.
Yeah, the parasocial thing is for real. And as a fan, would love to just say out loud that I think the way that the Try Guys handled that whole situation, and frankly have continued to handle like not equally difficult, but difficult moments, right? In just existing as a company, transitioning to the streamer, for example.
Yeah.
One of the things that I respect the hell out of has been the transparency, because it does make a difference as a fan. Like, I don't want to shade anybody else, but other companies may have not handled similar decision-making processes with the same level of grace and willingness to be like, hey, sometimes we fuck up. We're learning, like we're trying something new. And like, there's a reason I am a second try subscriber, right? Like, I mean, do I share it with a friend of mine? Yes. Like, let's be straight.
You love password sharing here.
Yeah. Like, honestly, love it. But like, part of that was, making that decision and being like, this is where I want to throw my money was like, I enjoy the content. Like, it's great. Like, me and my friend that I'm talking about, we used to spend the money to do like live, we're going to watch Without a Recipe, the live shows, and make the food that y'all are making. And it's going to be a awesome thing, and it's going to be great. Yeah. And so when the subscription included the tries, we were like, oh, we're going to save money.
Yeah, no, definitely. Great. Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, that like idea of like, at least I know, like, hey, if something happens, I can probably go listen to a Tripod episode where they're going to talk about it and be like, oh, I kind of understand this better now. Like, I get why they're doing things the way they're doing, even if they can't necessarily give me all of the specifics that my little nosy Nancy brain would love to know, you know?
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah, that's exactly it. I think transparency is definitely like the number one thing in all things. And it's not even only in negative situations. Like, I think transparency in exciting things is also fun. Like, you know, like once Becky and now Maggie like both like announced their pregnancies, and like they've both like Becky was so open about talking about everything. I think like that's what really creates like such like a good relationship with fans, is just like the willingness to share your experiences and the way that your brain processes things. I think it's, you know, it makes people understand you better. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And I think specific to that episode, like, I had such immense respect for the amount of information that she shared with that, because I was like, that is a deeply personal experience to go through. But also people go through that. Like, other people have had really difficult birth stories, and like being willing to share a difficult birth story, and then also bringing in Keith later to talk about his experience as a father experiencing that, like, was so lovely. Especially, I think a lot of, at least for my age group, like a lot of my friends are having kids.
Yeah.
And some of them have been really fucking hard. Like, my friend almost died in childbirth. Like, and so, scary. And it's scary. And listening to that episode, I like processed it and was like, wow, like this is, and also the thing about the mall being like having the greatest family restaurant. I was like, yes, they should be like that, Becky. You are correct. You have correct opinions. So
yeah, no, I love it. I know it was great of her to share that. And exactly, I think that's like what we're always trying to do, and like something specifically at Try Guys that's great is we're always just trying to like, you know, make a community, make sure people know that they're not alone, that they can, you know, try new things all the time, they can fail, they can do all the things, and it'll always work out in the end. So
totally. So just from a more technical perspective, right? Like nuts and bolts, what does your process for developing effective social media strategy and content look like? What are the types of things that you're looking for when you're building out promo materials? Like, and how, I think we've talked about this a little bit, but I'm interested to hear if this is true. It's like, how does your fandom experience contribute to the choices that you make, like actively, especially if you're like pulling clips and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. So, right now, like the biggest thing that we're working on is like the cut downs clips. I think that short form world is kind of like where a lot of it is living. So before I get into that though, like the number one thing across all social like things, whether it's clips or like graphics or behind the scenes photos, like, and I kind of said this before, the number one thing is we're always looking to give something and not just like be asking or taking something from the audience. Is like, what are we giving? That's like the first thing that we look at, is like, are we giving, even if it's just like giving a laugh, giving a funny moment, whatever it is, that's like the number one thing. And then when it comes to like clips and stuff specifically, I mean, there's a formula like that's less honestly like fun and less like fandom-y, I'd say, but there's always a formula of like the first 3 seconds are so important. The first 3 seconds is really like what we're looking at the most when we're doing cut downs or like original short form, because people just be swiping away so fast.
So true. So
yeah,
true.
The formula of it all is that first 3 seconds is so important, specifically if like in the first 3 seconds you're asking or answering a question, that's great. But as far as like fandom like of it all, it's also like giving fans little things that they didn't already know about them, or like little tidbits is like really exciting for me. Like especially with, again, my current job, the guys, they're very open. Like we were just saying, they're very transparent. So there's not many things that people don't know about them.
Yeah.
So if I can find something new, that's always exciting, which is also now really exciting with our new cast because people don't know them as well. So like trying to like highlight those moments of like just something real or new is always fun. But there is also a difference in the content we make and we plan. There's kind of the content that we plan for fans that are already fans that they want to see. And then there's content that we make to get new fans. Because obviously there's still like, you know, you're always wanting to grow. So that content is a little bit different sometimes to the content that's like for fans, fan service-esque
Totally.
sort of thing. Like, for example, we just put out a little bit ago a like which second try show are you quiz, which was very like J14 pop magazine vibes. And that one is definitely like for people who are already fans of the show. It's just a fun little like thing that you can engage with and do and be like, oh, I'm Smoke Show. So true. Like,
I was Trolley Problems. And I was like, that's a read.
That was so fun to make. Me and Aiko, me and Aiko, who is like my other social team member, we had so much fun like coming up with those questions and doing that. So I'm glad that you liked it. So like things like that are definitely more, you know, for the fans, but then things that are more like for the broader audience, we did, which is kind of funny. I don't know if people really like clocked that we were doing this, but a while ago we did an internal shorts competition. So anybody in the office could make an original YouTube short because we were kind of trying. YouTube Shorts is the biggest like algorithm bust that we're still trying to figure out. Like I feel like TikTok, it's like, okay, I know what works on TikTok. Instagram, I kind of know what works on Instagram. YouTube Shorts is like the Wild West still. We're still working to figure it out. So we were like, and YouTube Shorts is also very much like a numbers game. And it's like, so the more content you can put out, the better. But also we're a small team. You know, we're not, I think sometimes people think we're like this huge company. We're not, we're very small and it's just me and Aiko. So we can't, you know, be making a bunch of content. So we were like, what if we just open it up to the office and we're like, whoever wants to make a short, we'll post it for a week. And whoever gets the most views will get like a gift card, you know, like we just wanted to do something fun in the office. So we did that. And that was something to grab new audiences. And it ended up really working. The one who won, if you know Desiree, she made one and I helped her with it, which was so fun. She made one that was going to work high to see if my bosses will notice.
Bless.
And it is so funny. It's so good. And obviously something that you can't do at every job. So it was very, very good. But things like that, and all of those shorts, like if you go back and watch them, I think we were posting them in January, December. I don't know. I'm not sure. But if anybody wants to go look, you can go watch them. You'll see there's a bunch of shorts that you're like, these aren't our normal thing. I did one where I made them read pages out of some of my smutty books, which was
I did see that one.
Very funny. Very awkward also.
I'm sure.
But it was funny. It's so funny because when I watch it edited, I'm like, oh no, this is just funny. But then when I watch the unedited clips, I'm just sitting there like, oh my God. It was so, you know, it was fun. But yeah, that Desiree one was just so good. And people were in those comments that were not Try Guys fans. Like they did not know what type of company Desiree worked for. They did not know like who they were, but they were just finding this thing funny. And I feel like I've gone on a whole tangent now, but that's something that we're really like trying to strive towards is just like fun content, specifically in short form that you don't need to know who the Try Guys are for it to be fun and funny. So that's kind of what we're working on now outside of that. And I think that still like the fandom experience helps that because fandom is also just like knowing what works online, like really like knowing what is going on online. So I think in that way it does help making things like that. I think that's my long-winded answer.
I loved it. I was on board from start to finish.
Okay,
I was into it. I also love that you were like, if you know Desiree. I was like, do you think I don't know Desiree? Of course I know Desiree.
I love Desiree.
Or I should say I know of Desiree. I do not know Desiree personally. Desiree was the one who gave me the gumption to reach out to you. That's a true story. Yeah, because I was going to ask if you wanted to be on this podcast. I went to the DC Eat the Menu live tour, which was extremely fun.
I wasn't at that one. I was so sad.
Correct, you weren't at that one. And I had geared myself up because I was like, this is it. I'm gonna set aside the like cringy shit of like never ask for anything, like don't bother people, like that whole thing. And I was like, I'm gonna like straight up be like, I'm gonna go to Cailyn and be like, I do this thing and I would love to talk to you. And then you were there. And so I was like, I bumped into Desiree when I was in line to talk to Jared, who was so nice, by the way.
Love Jared. He's the nicest human.
Incredibly wonderful person. My friend who I was speaking to, who I share the Second Try account with, was too pregnant to go to the show. And so for a baby shower gift, I had everybody sign a little card that had like a little baby Triceratops on the front. And Jared was like, do you want to do a video? Do you want to say hi? I was like, yes. It was just so sweet. Awesome. Yeah. And they cried when they saw it. It was very, very sweet.
I love it.
Yeah, but Desiree was like behind me in line, I think getting food. And I was like, I'm really sad Cailyn's not here. I was gonna like Annie up and ask this question. She was like, ask. Just send a DM. Like, Cailyn will do it.
Yeah, I'm always down.
Okay.
It's fun. I love doing stuff like this. And especially talking about fandom stuff. I'm always down.
Yeah. It's always, to your point earlier about feeling a little, some kind of way about like, oh, reading my smutty books or whatever. There is a piece of you that's like, fandom is so deeply personal that like, it can be hard to bridge the gap and be willing to be like, here's the thing that I enjoy. Please don't judge me for it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I had a sense that you would be cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I try. I know it's so weird because I'm also obviously very like, before working at Try Guys, I was in some BuzzFeed videos, but again, I was past the time where BuzzFeed was like making people anything. So like nobody noticed me from BuzzFeed videos. And so it's weird now. It's still new that I'm like in Try Guys videos sometimes and people like recognize me and like know me from Try Guys videos. And it's still like, I feel like I'm still coming to terms with like just people knowing who I am in general. And also I like watch myself in videos and I'm like, is that how I am? I don't know. Like, I'm like, it's like so weird. Like people say that I'm normal on camera. Like even like people that I know, like my friends will be like, no, you were like normal. Or like sometimes they're like, okay, that was a little cringy. But like overall, it seems like I'm myself on camera. So I guess that's good. So I guess people can be like, okay, that's her. It's normal.
That's good. Yeah. I don't have the capacity, like the emotional strength, I think, to be like an on-camera personality. I think I would just get so in my head about it that like it would no longer be fun.
Yeah, you definitely just have to not look at comments.
Yeah, I mean,
which is rough because it is my job to look at the comments.
Yeah,
so
it is
sometimes rough when I'm in a video and I don't want to look at the comments because I know I'm going to see something that I don't like, but it's also my job to look at them.
Totally. That is a bummer that you can't just like avoid it.
Yeah.
That's usually my tactic with like the few moments where I've had like a YouTube short go, not viral is like the wrong word, but like catch a couple thousand views as opposed to its usual 4. And people are like, wow, look at that girl. I'm like, oh no. I don't need to know what your opinion of me is.
Don't perceive me.
No, I do not wish to be known in this manner. I'm going to go back to my audio only situation.
Yeah, no, I get it. I definitely get it.
Yeah. So I guess in addition to your work with Try Guys, I did want to talk to you about like your own experience in your separate like social media channels. You have a podcast, Two Birds Both Stoned. What have been the advantages and or the challenges of navigating your own creative path while also being known for now, or at least closely associated with, an established digital brand that has its own legacy?
I mean, I think being like with the Try Guys and just in general, like being in this like line of work has only helped me like with my personal things in the way that for my podcast, Two Birds Both Stoned, which we do still do it, but we have not posted in a while and we've got to get on this. We're always like, it's like if you watch like the last few ones, we're like, we're back, we're gonna be back. And then it's like hasn't posted in 5.
Not back.
It's fine. We're working on it. But
you and I, relatable because we did that. We were like, we're back. It's been a year.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So I totally get it. You know, it's hard. But like it's only helped me like with the big thing that made Two Birds Both Stoned like kind of have a little bit of success and backing in the beginning, because I started it Two Birds Both Stoned before I was at Try Guys, and we had a little bit of a bump, and that's only because of our short form clips, which is I knew how to do because of work, and I knew how to find those moments because of work, and also because of being in the fandom space. So that only helped. Also, my co-host is also in the creative space. She's a graphic designer, so she was able to use her expertise. So it's obviously just good to be surrounded by creative people that can do things for yourself as well as like work. Same with like, I also just like started a YouTube channel for my like book. It's like a booktube. So like all of these things that I've learned through work. And also obviously it doesn't hurt to like have a little bit of like quote unquote clout from the Try Guys.
Sure.
A few more people know who I am now and hopefully will then watch my things and enjoy it. So there's really like only positives when it comes to that. The only like negative is just like time, really. Yeah. Like I wish that I had more time to do my own things, but because like obviously like Try Guys is a regular job. I work 40 hours a week, 9 to 6 every day. So
and I imagine sometimes more than that, I would guess.
Yeah, there's definitely the times where it's more than that. Especially on big, like Without a Recipe week. I always like feel like it's like Hell Week in theater. Like, like it's like, it's crazy. Yeah. It's fun, but it's crazy. So yeah, it's definitely takes up a lot of my time that I wish I could have to do more of my own creative things, but that's also just, that's life. That's not only a creative thing. I think anybody with any sort of job wishes they had more time to do their own thing. Like, so that's the one thing. But yeah, most of it is really like positive, and I've just get to use the skills that I'm like learning more of every day at work with my own things, especially working with people not only at Try Guys, but also at BuzzFeed that have been in the space for so much longer than me, because I am one of the youngest people at the company. I think there's only one person that's younger than me. And they're just obviously so like wise. Like obviously like Zach and Keith have been on the internet for ever. And Eugene, like obviously when he was there, I learned so much from all of them every day. And their input is really great. But it's also fun that they're also willing to learn from me, because it's, it's different. Like I am like a younger generation. So it's like things change like from when they were at their peak at BuzzFeed. Like it's different. And they also are aware of that. It's different. So it's fun that we get to learn from each other, but definitely like learning from them has helped me with my own things as well. Like literally like a perfect example is since I just started my YouTube channel, I was not like a thumbnail person at all, but now I don't design our thumbnails. Like we have a external person, but I like help facilitate the thumbnails. And before, like I only knew very little about YouTube thumbnails, and now I got to like take that stuff that I've learned through working at Try Guys with my own thumbnails for my own YouTube videos. So it's a pretty like 1-for-1 trade-off, which is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I do think there's so much value specifically in creative spaces, and especially like quote unquote cutting edge creative spaces where it's like not traditional media, it's more digital. It's like things are changing every day. Like the best education you can get is to do it. Like you just have to like live it and do it. And I chose a very different path. I decided I needed a day job that had really solid health insurance. Because yeah, I was like, I couldn't do it anymore. And that has allowed me, because I no longer worry about finances in that same way that I used to, like still worry about money, obviously. But I'm not as broke as I used to be. I have the capacity to do more creative things purely because I want to do them and not because I have to make money off of them, which I think is its own privilege in a way.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely not making money on any of my own creative things either. It's definitely just, it's for fun. And as like a creative person, it's like, obviously I am technically making money off of my day job, which is creative, but it's nice to do creative things for yourself still, because it's a different feeling. Like I still feel fulfilled when like something I make for work does really well, but it's, it's for someone else at the end of the day. So it's like, it's fun to do something for yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's what I was kind of getting at is like, it's nice to be in a position of like relative privilege where if you have a creative idea, you can chase it and it doesn't have to necessarily succeed in order to be of like value to your journey. Like that. Speaking of music, I have been deeply obsessed with Joe Keery, aka Joe.
Oh, yeah.
And there was an interview recently that he talked about where he was like, straight up, Stranger Things money means I can be independent in my music and do whatever I want. And that I is love that for him. Yeah, he was like, that is not a thing that other people have, and it would have changed the way that I made those records. And I was like, respect for saying it and owning it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I love that for him. Yeah. I saw him a few years ago at Lollapalooza, and he was great.
Yeah. This is a total derailment of the conversation. That's totally fine. We're music girlies. I was shocked by how good his show was. I was expecting good. I wasn't expecting great, and it was great.
Yeah, no, it was great. I know, because especially just like kind of vibey artists like that, like he really just stands there with his guitar the whole time, but it was great. Yeah, I loved his set when I saw him. So
he has dropped the act. So he used to perform as like almost a character where he had like the wig and the suit and like it was a whole shtick. Right.
He's kind of dropped that now.
He's not doing it anymore. So like A of all, arms were out, muscles visible. I was far away and I went, this man is stacked.
Like, okay.
Yeah, I literally was like, what? I sent photos to my friends and everyone's response was, all right, biceps.
Okay, arms.
And I was like, look, I'm gay as they come, but like I can respect the situation.
Oh my gosh. That's like, I can't get it. I'm recently on a Palm Mescal kick and I just can't. I can't. Yeah. I read the book Normal People, and then me and my friend just watched the show, and I'm going through something right now.
That is very funny. The things that our brains latch on to. I was also very much a Hosier girly, so it like doesn't surprise me.
I love him so much. He was my number one Spotify artist last year, so I love that man.
He has only been unseated in my Spotify Wrapped by Noah Khan recently. But the actual like year that the most recent Hozier album came out, it was a sweep. Like there just wasn't any competition because I was like, the girlies are yearning, and that's what it is.
I love an Irish man.
Yep.
I just love an Irish man. What can I say?
He's so beautiful. If a man were written by a woman.
Oh yeah, it would be him.
It would be him.
I'm waiting to find his flaw. I'm sure there is one. Every man has.
Yeah. But I'm gonna say something controversial, and I might cut it out because I don't want to like cause a fight. I've been starting to get fuckboy energy from him.
No, I get it. I also saw, I don't know if you saw this video of him with like, I don't know if it's a new girlfriend or just somebody that wasn't out in the public. It was just a video of him like getting out of the car and just like walking away from her so quick. And I was like, oh no. And then he like almost like remembered that she was back there and was like, oh, and I was like, Hozier, no.
No. What are you doing? Well, I was like, oh, he's a Pisces. He's a music boy. Pisces, and he's specifically like a poet, like a writer. I was like, I bet he's a nightmare in real life.
Yeah. A man that's a poet, it's like, I know that you have something going on.
It's that thing of like, when you write one sonnet, you like you're really feeling it. But if you write 100 sonnets, you just really like writing sonnets.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. It's fine. I still love him. It's fine. And like, I don't know this man in the slightest. This is all fangirl speculation and like weird vibes, like not based in truth. I am not speaking to Hozier's actual character.
Exactly. We don't know.
I don't know. In the age of old author's note, I do not own these characters. Please don't sue me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it.
Anyway, I love that we have similar music vibes at this point. That is really wonderful. I did want to talk to you a little bit about music, just because you and I are music girlies. Like, what have been some of your favorite fan experiences at shows or festivals? Obviously, you mentioned Coachella. Like, have there been? Part of the reason I wanted to ask this question is because I had like when we went to the Eat the Menu live show, right? That meet and greet was stellar.
I love it.
Whoever planned that is a fucking genius. Because I was like, first of all, food, great. Second of all, it wasn't a step and repeat, which I think is the great failing of most, especially conventions, but like fandom experiences where it's like you get your 2 seconds, you say hi, you get a photo, and you leave. And that sucks as a fan.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, so I was interested like what your most exciting or like best fan experiences have had. And it might not be music, it could also be something else.
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, I will say I agree. I love the Eat the Menu tour, like meet and greet. When we found out like that's what it was, the Eat and Greet, it was just so fun. And shout out Desiree, she really was the one that like planned those completely. And then me and Desiree kind of in tandem would run them when we were at the shows. It was great. It was such a fun experience. And I think so. First, I'll say one that's not music, just because when I think of like fan experiences similar to like something like that, I think of like going back to the Playlist Live that I talked about back in the day on YouTube. There's this YouTuber called Swoozy. He was huge to me, but I also don't think he was that huge. He actually, like, the way I found him was he made like animated videos. Like he would tell a story of his life and like animate it, and he was in like the Disney college program, and like he would tell stories about that.
Oh, I was like, the name sounded vaguely familiar. I don't know that I could like tell you who this person is, but if it's Disney content, then I've probably seen it.
Yeah, he had some Disney content. I honestly don't know what he's doing now, but I loved him. And he was just like out and about at like Playlist Live, because again, he was big but not that big, and I just got to like talk to him for literally like 20 minutes and just like chat, and he was the nicest person. And I'll never like forget that, just because there's not many times where you get to have like that much time with somebody who you're a fan with and just have a normal conversation, right? Which is what I liked about the Ingrid. It wasn't like just like, oh hi, nice to meet you, thanks for coming, cheese, bye. Like it was like, I like to like actually have a conversation. So that's probably like one that I think about a lot when it comes to that. I feel like a lot of other just like fun, cool, like concert ones are a lot of K-pop ones, funnily enough, because K-pop, like they're trained very well to do like fan service. Like it's like a whole thing. Like at K-pop concerts, you'll see a million girls just holding up like half hand hearts to the stage, and the guys will go around like finishing the hand hearts. Like it's like, so I've had a lot of moments like that are really cute. I had one moment with this group called Stray Kids, and my favorite person is Felix, and I turned like my phone onto the front camera but turned it towards them, so that way it's like almost like a mirror for them, and he like came right up to it and was like singing to my phone for like a few minutes, and that was just so fun for me. Like I just love like those one-on-one moments. I just think they're like so special. Oh my gosh, how did I forget like my biggest one? Okay, so this is like I feel like a lot of people don't know this. Maybe I should like pin it to my Instagram. But I went to the Jonas Brothers tour when they first like came back like
Mm.
recently.
Hmm.
And BB Rexa was opening for them.
Mm.
And my roommate's over there laughing because she knows this story. Um,
Hello,
so
roommate. Thank you, roommate.
so I went and I went to three Jonas Brothers shows, like back to back. And the first show I went to, I found out that BB Rexa brings fans on stage to dance. And I was like, I want to do that.
Obviously.
So the next show,
Obviously.
obviously, I brought a sign that said like, let's dance BB. And like, I always like liked BB Rexa. I was never like, I definitely want to say like, I'm part of her like fandom, but I was always like, her music's fun. She seems like a cool gal. So I brought a sign and I was front row like for the show and it worked out that she pulled me up. So literally in this arena this was in Jacksonville, Florida, pulled me up on stage during one of the songs and it was like an arena. Like I've never been on a stage. Like
Whoa.
it was
Yeah.
crazy. And also crazy that you like it's just black. Like you can't see anything because of the lights and stuff. Like I knew that, but like you can really only see like the first two rows and it's just like dark. But I got up there and I danced like my life depended on it. And I literally at one point like dropped to my knees and like did like a hair flip. Like I was going all out and it was like just crazy like hearing like the cheers up there and like it was weird 'cause it's like a fan experience but also like the closest I think I'll ever be to like feeling like a pop star.
Yeah.
Like I was like this is my moment.
Yeah.
And then like she like after like that because she was the opener like I went and got water and like so many people were like stopping me and being like oh my God like hey. And this is also like before I worked for the Try Guys so I had never experienced anyone being like oh like I recognize you and that was like the obviously people were like, "Oh, you were the girl that was on stage," but it just like was so fun
Hmm.
in that way. And then BB Rexa ended up posting a video of it on her TikTok, and and then sorry, I'm really rambling now, but this was just a
It's fine.
crazy experience. But I then ended up getting in one-sided, not really one-sided beef with Charlie D'Amelio from it because then the next week. The next day, even it was a few days later, Charlie D'Amelio went to a concert and she brought Charlie D'Amelio up on stage and danced and it was so dumb like she did some similar move and like a bunch of people were commenting being like Charlie D'Amelio copied you like and like trying to create this beef that was just so funny to me. I was like what like obviously Charlie D'Amelio did not copy me, it's fine, she's doing good. Like
She has
it
other
was
things on her mind. It's fine.
yeah it was just so funny to see like the workings of how that happened. But yeah, I think that's probably like just the coolest thing that's ever happened. And like
That is very
it was
fun.
very cool and it's a very funny thing to like use for Two Truths and a Lie. I opened for the Jonas Brothers basically.
Totally. That is a really stellar, like, hinge question.
Right.
You know what I mean? To, like, get a
I
conversation
should add
going.
that to a prompt. Yeah.
Yeah. Be like, would you believe if it's like one of those?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
Yeah. So that
wild.
was definitely crazy and definitely like a once in a lifetime weird moment.
Yeah.
So
I think those are huge for fandom, though. Like, I think those opportunities to, like, feel special are what, like, largely what people, like, stick
yes.
with and keep people engaged. Because it's like when there's that distance, there's some stuff, obviously, like, there's a lot of shows and movies that are like, they're done. Like, they're not active or whatever. But, you know, for music or for, like, live shows and YouTube, too, I think, like, this applies to, like, YouTube folks. It's like, those little interactive moments, even if you aren't the person who like gets the chance, it's like, oh, okay, like this is cool. Like they're not so distant from us that they're not willing to like be goofy funny and like have someone up on stage. I will own the fact that like at the DC show, the girl who ate the meringue cookies with Keith is my best friend, Cailyn.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that.
Yeah, she co-hosts. She's like, doesn't co-host. She's like she runs our Tumblr and nice. She was like in my quarantine pod close. Like we've taken each other to urgent care close. And she got to do it. And I got a video of it. And I was like so happy for her outwardly. And then I was like, I wanted that opportunity. Fuck you. You're not even as big a fan.
Totally Yep. No, I totally get that. Yeah, that was so fun. Yeah, exactly. Like, and talking about like the specialness of it, that was something that we talked about so much, like with that tour. It's like I mean, you saw it. So like there like every part of the show almost has like an involvement with the audience, whether it's the
Mhm.
onstage audience, whether it's the parade, the throwing of the food. Like
Yeah.
we really like wanted to make these like the people just feel involved, as
Yeah.
many people as possible. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm sorry that you didn't get to
It's
have
fine.
that,
I
but
got
I
over it.
love that your son did.
I was definitely a 15-year-old about it for like 3 minutes, and then I was like, actually, this is cool as hell. It's fine.
I totally get it.
Yeah. And then she got to be in the, like, she was in the video, and I was like, maybe they'll pick me for the after the show thing. And that did not happen. And I was like, it's fine. I will survive. I'll survive
I'll
the
live.
disappointment. It's cool. I don't think it helped. My friend Jade was also a pizza during the parade. So I was like, why is everyone here getting this opportunity but me?
Oh my gosh.
It's fine.
Oh my gosh, that food parade thing was so funny. Like it was just the most chaotic, like
Oh,
2 minutes off stage when we would have to bring the audience off stage and just shove them into costumes. Like,
Yeah.
and it's so because people they would be like trying to say hi to us, and I'm like, hi, I gotta get this on you.
Girlie, this is a quick change. Shut up.
Yeah, it's like now it's like it's so nice to meet you. Now's not the time.
Yeah, we'll talk later. Yeah, that was very funny. If it helps, the DC part of the reason that I think so many of my friends were in the audience for DC is that like the DC audience is very heavily swings towards theater people. So
Yeah.
Jade is a stage manager. So she got pulled up and she was like, I got this. We're good. Like, let's go. Like, let's rock and roll.
Yeah,
I
I
have a
love
mark to hit. Let's make it. So
Yeah,
It
exactly.
was very
I love
funny.
that.
But yeah, it was very cool. Anyway, one of my I could sit here and literally chat with you for the next 5 hours.
I'm
For
having
sure.
so much fun.
Yeah, this is great. Anytime you want to chat, just call me. I have a question that I think is one of my favorite questions to ask people because I think it really gets at the heart of like what we're doing here, like bridging the gap between fandom and creative folk. So I'm interested to know if there's anything that you wish fans broadly better understood about the creator side of the work. And is there anything that you wish creators better understood about fandom?
Yeah, I love this question. I think something that I wish that like fans knew, it's like I feel like they know this, but maybe we're just like a bit more understanding of specifically like maybe creators that are a little bit larger and it's not just like a one person band, like where it is like somewhat of a company, is that we're regular people. We're just doing our jobs, you know, like doing our jobs to the best of our abilities. Sometimes things are going to go wrong, and it's not because we're bad at our jobs. Like it just happens. Like I think that's something I see a lot is like somebody doesn't like one post or like something it's like their opinion and it's like, well, it's because Cailyn's a bad social media manager. And it's like, okay, it's fine. Like it's just like I think like the understanding that like we're just people, we're doing our job to the best of our ability. We're working as hard as we can, but it's also not our whole lives. Like it's like I go home and I try not to think about the Try Guys when I like log off, you know? And so it's a job that we do care about. I will say like that's definitely a difference. Like even from like at BuzzFeed to now, it's like all the people that do work at Try Guys like really do care about the success of the company and also about like giving the fans good content. So I think it's just like the understanding that like we are people though, like it's like we're just doing our best. And also that sometimes it's just not all that it seems. Like kind of like what we were talking about earlier. It's like there's lots of things going behind the scenes of a business that just like can't like it's a business at the end of the day. So like there are things that we need to do or like need to work around before we can say something or like if you're not like hearing from us, it's not, trust me, like we're talking about it, but like we're talking about it, we're thinking about it, and we're going to do our best, but like we can't always just like at the drop of a hat like be communicating that. So I think that's the biggest thing. And just I don't know, yeah, just understanding that specifically for like the Try Guys, we're doing our best. Like and we're not like we're good people, I think. So yeah, I think that's one thing. And I think just in general something that is for all fans is just like, and this is something I even remind myself as a fan, is that like, even though I feel like I know Harry Styles, like I do need to like, you know, ground myself and be like, I don't know Harry Styles. Like I am a fan of Harry Styles and I really like appreciate everything he does and like think that he's a good person. But at the end of the day, like, you know, you have to remember that separation that like, I don't want to say, I don't like the term like, oh, they don't owe you anything because like, you know, like a lot of people, especially like in our work, like people are like giving us money on second try, like things like that. Like, so we do, you know, we do owe second try, like subscribers, like good content and things like that. But like, I think like some things you need to remember are like, there's a line, you know,
Yes.
is all. And luckily I will say our fans are like pretty like good with this. Like I don't think that we like our fan base, we always say like how great our fan base is. Like sorry, again going on a tangent, but like I remember like when we were at like Disney for like the parks videos, and like we had like they were asking us if we needed like security guards and all this stuff, and we were like no, like and like when fans came up to us, they were always so nice. Like we've never had like I don't know, we just have like really good and like very understanding fans. So like I don't want it to come off as like me being like all of our fans think we're not human. So
Sure.
like it's definitely not that.
Yeah.
But obviously, you know, there's always like there's situations that are rough.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I think that's like long-winded of that part of it, is just that I wish fans understood that we're just people. We're a company, but we're not a big company. We're just people.
Yeah. Well, and it can be hard too, I think, as a fan, not to cut you off.
Oh no, you're fine.
I think it's very easy for fans to get wrapped up in the discourse, capital D of it all, and assume that the people on the other side of the screen either share a knowledge base or share a worldview that is 100% in alignment with what you personally believe or think.
Yeah.
And it is totally fine and totally acceptable for you as a fan to sort of meter what you are a fan of based on your value set. Like,
yeah.
You know, I assume like these creators have said that they value these things. I believe that to be true. I'm going to give them money. I'm going to support them. Cool. And like in situations where those things come into question, it can be very easy to be like, they're terrible. And it's like, no, we may just not have 100% alignment on this thing. I have to figure out if this for me as a fan is a breaking point, or if I can just be like, it's fine. Like, it's all good.
No, definitely. And it's also sometimes like a learning thing. Like
Totally.
there's often times where like things are brought up and I'm like, I didn't even know. I had no idea that was a thing. And so like there's, you know, and then we pivot and we learn, and that's how it is. So yeah, I think that's a really great point as well. I think for the flip side of what creators can learn from fans, I mean, there's so many things, I think, honestly. But I think I think it kind of comes back to, and this is maybe like, because I'm still, you know, only 4 years into being in the creator space, only like 2 years into really being into like the public creator space, is I don't know if it's really learned, but I wish that they would like remember what it's like to be a fan also of things sometimes, like, which is again, like I think one of my greatest strengths. I still have that in me, but you know, it's like obviously like we're running a business, and this is again not only talking about Try Guys. I can only talk about my experience at Try Guys. This isn't for everyone there. It's like sometimes I'm like even reminding myself like, okay, this is like what I want to do for like business wise, but also I'm like, okay, but like what do like the fans want, and what are they thinking? Like not only what do they want, but what are they thinking about this? And I want to make sure that like we're sensitive to that. So, and sometimes I think I'm like, not everyone is thinking that way. One, because they're maybe aren't fans of many things, so they don't get it, or they just kind of have forgotten like what that's like. So I think that's like the biggest thing, is like really like putting in the effort to think about how things come across to fans is really important. And I think I think a lot of creators do this. I know that we do that very often, but I think it's something that can always be better everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
I guess is that a good answer?
It is. I'm here to tell you it's a good answer.
Right.
Good answer. Daily double, whatever. All of the fun things. Well, this has been truly a delightful and wonderful conversation.
So much fun.
I think we could straight up just keep talking for like 3 hours, but I do have to go get ready for my friend to come over and install a ceiling fan.
Yes.
So, you know, were there any sort of like final thoughts, final things, anything you wanted to shout out or say like, hey, I'm doing this thing, like now is the time. I am no Sean Evans, but I'm happy to give you the camera.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. I definitely like, it's just like some of my favorite topics, so it's great. And I love to talk about my job, and yeah, just follow me on Instagram. It's CailynHoertz, Cailyn Hoertz, and I have pretty much everything linked in my bio there. So like my YouTube channel, my podcast, obviously, if I'm sure you do already, but follow the Try Guys stuff, because all of that's me. If you get a response on a comment, it's me. If somebody shares your story, it's most likely me as well. So yeah, follow me over there. And yeah, I love to talk to people, so I'm always responding to DMs and stuff. So yeah, talk to me.
A huge thank you to Cailyn for taking time out of her day. You can follow Cailyn via all the Try Guys socials and her own personal socials, which I will link in the description of this episode below. If you are interested in following the Fic List, we may or may not be coming back for Pride with a really fun episode that you should definitely settle in for. Who's to say? You can find the Fic List everywhere podcasts are to be found. You can find us on TikTok, YouTube, all the socials, and we even have our own website, theficlist.com, that will link you to all of the other places you can find us, which is great. One of the places I mentioned her earlier in the conversation is my friend Cailyn runs our Tumblr. So if you're particularly interested in following us in the true fandom trenches, Tumblr's where it's at. Cailyn runs that place so well, and it's so lovely. And of course, I need to give a shout out to our Ko-Fi supporters, Danielle, Rose, Leo, Allie, and Dion. Love you all deeply. If you are enjoying the content that we're putting out currently, if you're enjoying this series or enjoy our main podcast, The Fic List, please feel welcome but not required to donate via Ko-Fi. I'll put the link in the description. It just makes sure that we keep the lights on here. Now I'm using Zoom a lot more. I bet you can guess. So we appreciate any dollar that you send our way. It does just go to the care and keeping of this podcast project, and it is much, much appreciated. That's about it, y'all. Looking forward to seeing you the next time. Have a great rest of your day.